There, okay.
All right, Mayor, we are live and the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. This is the City of Morro Bay City Council. This is a special meeting. It is Tuesday, January the 12th, 2021, 2 p.m. And I will ask if our esteemed clerk will establish a quorum, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Addis is present. Councilmember Barton.
You have to mute yourself.
Councilmember Barton, are you with us? I'll come back to her. Councilmember Davis.
I am present.
Councilmember Heller.
I'm here.
And Councilmember Barton, are you with us? I see her.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Great. That establishes a quorum. And with that, I'll go ahead and wish everybody a happy and safe New Year. Hope that your holidays were joyous and safe. And it's good to be back at this special meeting today. This is a special meeting for appointment to our advisory commissions. A little different than we have done in the past since we are on Zoom and we are virtual. Pursuant to Section 3, Executive Order N29-20, issued by Governor Newsom on March 17th, 2020, the meeting will be conducted telephonically through Zoom and broadcast live on cable channel 20 and streamed on the city website. Please be advised that pursuant to the executive order and to ensure the health and safety of the public by limiting human contact that could spread the COVID-19 virus, the Veterans Hall will not be open for this meeting nor future meetings until further notice is given from the city. Public participation information will be put up on the screen in just a moment by the clerk. This again is a special meeting of the City Council to appoint members to various commissions. Format will be a little different this year, Council, as you know. Or most of you know, perhaps not Councilmember Barton, who is new to us, but normally we've been able to do this via a live meeting. And given the fact that we are unable to be live, we do not have the ability to poll members of the council. So as we go through each of the commissions and complete the interviews, each council member will have one question that will be asked to all applicants for the position. And I'll be announcing up front the positions that we will be interviewing for. We do have some full-time positions, some remainder positions, and so I'll try to be real clear as to exactly what we're doing and what positions we will be appointing to. For those of you that have applied, the applicants out there, thank you so much for applying. Serving the city and the capacity of one of our commissions is a great honor and privilege. And we as a council very much want to thank you for your interest in the city. All of you have submitted outstanding curriculum vitae or resumes, and we appreciate that and appreciate your engagement with the city. Please know that if you're not elected or selected to a certain commission, that certainly you would be invited in the future to apply for other positions or actually reapply to a commission that you may not be appointed to. So again, thank you for your applications and all of the information that you provided. And I just want to, on behalf of the council, give you a warm welcome. You will have 1 minute to answer. When we do begin each commission interview, I'll ask you for just a 1 minute statement. No need to read your resume. We have that information, but anything you'd like to say, the clerk will be timing that. And then when the questions are asked, each individual will have 1 minute to answer the question. I know that's a kind of a tight timeline, but we do have a fair amount of work to do and would appreciate that adherence. And the clerk again will let you know when that time might be up. So with that, I'll go ahead and open up public comment. This is public comment for items on the agenda only. This is a special meeting, so we're not taking general public comment until our regular meeting this evening. So with that, we have on the screen the information that's necessary for the public. Should you like to call in by phone and or enter into your computer system the Zoom information as noted and join us live via Zoom. We will go ahead now and open up public comment. Anthony, do we have any public comment, sir?
Mayor, I see one hand raised. It's Jesse Barron. I was going to go ahead and unmute him.
Okay, that would be fine.
Okay.
Welcome, Jesse.
Are you there, Jesse? Did you want to speak? You had your hand raised.
He's muted at present.
I'm sorry. I've been having some technical difficulties here. No, I don't need to speak. I'm sorry.
Okay, great, Jesse. Thank you. Anthony, any other public comment?
Mayor, I do not see any other raised hands in the queue.
Okay, thank you for that. With that, I will go ahead and close public comment. And if you will move to your information, council, on the Planning Commission, we'll start with our Planning Commission applicants. A couple of notes that you may have received, but for our audience's notification, we had a total of 6 applicants for the Planning Commission. And I'll make note, council, we've had 2 withdrawals. Please cross off Mr. Ian Gaffney. That's number 2 applicant on your list, and number 5, Krista Rooney. Both of those individuals have decided to withdraw. We thank you for, again, applying and considering that, but for whatever personal reasons, they've withdrawn. That leaves us with 4 individuals. And now, commission, council, this is a 2-part appointment. We have 2 vacancies for a 4-year term ending January 31st, 2025. And then we have 1 vacancy, which is a remainder position for a term ending January 31st, 2023. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go ahead and interview all applicants and then ask you verbally for the 2 that you are recommending to the 4-year term ending January 31st, 2025. We will take those recommendations. The clerk will do her usual summary and we will get our appointees. And then from those that remain, we will go ahead and ask you to reconsider those remainder folks and go ahead and make a recommendation for the one you believe would be appropriate for the vacancy for the remainder term ending January 31st, 2023. I hope that's clear. We're just initially going to vote on the 2 vacancies for the 4-year term. And after discerning who's left over, we're going to take those individuals and consider them for the 1 vacancy for the remainder term. We're not going to do a second interview, just a single interview. I will start with a council member and try to do a rotation. So don't think you're going to get called on first every time. And so with that, Madam Clerk, do we have Mr. Roshan, Ms. Ford, Mr. Barone, and Mr. Hanlon promoted and available on screen?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, they are all in the meeting.
Great, welcome. Thank you again for your submissions. We're going to go ahead and ask each of you, and I'll start with Mr. Roshan, if I could, please. Then I'll move to Ms. Ford, then Mr. Barone, and then Mr. Hanlon. And we'll give you 1 minute just for a general introduction so that the council can get to know you. So Mr. Roshan, please. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Happy to be here with you. Thanks for having me. I'm an architect in Morro Bay for 3 years now. I've practiced on large scale and small scale projects. And previously I was on the Planning Commission in Los Angeles. And please don't hold that against me. But happy to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Roshan. And if I'm saying your name incorrectly, I apologize. You can correct me. There's no harm, no foul in that. Ms. Ford, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Heading and City Council members and city staff. I guess I'll just start off with, I'm a mother of two. My husband and I own Rock Harbor Marketing here in Morro Bay. We moved here in 2011 and I've been involved in our community in a lot of different ways. As you can see in my resume, or I guess I would say my application that you read, I got involved right away with the PTA for Del Mar Elementary and just kind of went from there and got involved in a lot of other organizations and events around Morro Bay. So I'm excited to be here today and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Appreciate that. Mr. Barone, please. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. So briefly, my name is Jesse Barone. Some of you may know me. I've been around town a long time now. It feels like 6 years going on 7. I work for the county. I'm a plans examiner on the building side of the planning and building department of the county of San Luis Obispo. Including my military time, about 20 years of public service. Have a bachelor's degree in public administration from Cal State Bakersfield, and been on the Planning Commission now for 3 years. I think it was October when I was appointed, so a little over 3 years. Been through a lot with the Planning Commission, you know, the general plan update, the local coastal plan update. I'm looking forward to continuing our good work, and hopefully they'll give me that opportunity.
Thank you for that. And Mr. Hanlon, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me. I am excited for the opportunity to become a little bit more involved in kind of a surrogate community that has been in my life pretty much my whole life. I first visited Morro Bay when I was 4 years old. Had an aunt that lived here. First bus trip I ever took as a child was at 7 years old when my mom put me on a bus and sent me to my aunt's house for the summer. And I've had a lifelong love affair with the area. My wife and I finally bought our first home here in Morro Bay almost 7 years ago. And we've been home back in California and here in Morro Bay for the last 3.5 going on 4 years. I'm a realtor, full-time, and I'm also a firefighter over in Los Osos. But I've had a widely varied professional career. Everything from 20 years as an English professor to 15 years as a skydiving instructor. One of my strengths is being able to reach out to and relate to people from many walks of life, and my professional experience as of late has really given me some great insight, as to many of the needs of our community. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Mr. Hanlon. With that, I'm going to become less formal, and I'm going to use your first names from now on, since we now have an introduction from you. And again, we're going to ask for a 1-minute response from each of you, and I will give you the order that we're going to ask you to respond in. And I will start with a question from Councilmember Davis, sir, if you would. And again, each applicant will be answering the same question from Councilmember Davis. And we'll start with Mr. Hanlon, if we could, please. Councilmember Davis.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you all applying for the Planning Commission. And my question is, what do you hope to accomplish as a member of the Planning Commission?
I would like to accomplish a little bit more in the way of some affordable housing for our residents. I think that's probably one of the biggest issues that we face as a community. We have a lot of long-time multi-generational residents that are finding it harder and harder to stay here. I also think that I would like to have a hand in promoting a little bit more by way of economic development, finding businesses that want to come here and be employers for head of households and things of that nature. So I think that it's important to have a balance, to balance our small town fishing village charm with the needs that we have for economic development.
Great. Thank you, Sean. Let's go ahead and Jesse, have you be second, please.
Yes, sir, no problem. Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry to make sure I answer it.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes. What do you hope to accomplish as a member of the Planning Commission?
Well, I want to make sure we button that general plan up. That's pretty important. We've been working on that a long time. The local and the LCP, the local coastal program. I feel like there's some unfinished work. I feel like I have some things still left to accomplish there. We've been talking about residential design guidelines. And getting that implemented, that would, I think, help development know what the city expects, what the city wants, and that may spur some residential development. I think housing is a huge issue, obviously, but insofar as making it easy for developers to know what the city wants, I would like to see consistency. I would like to bring some consistency and bring some clarity to our process.
Thank you, Jesse. Jen, we'll go to you next.
Thank you. I want to start with saying that I believe we're in a unique time where we are now admitting that climate change is real, and that there are a lot of things that need to take place in all cities, especially coastal communities, because of our current situation that we're in. And I think that we need to have people on our planning commission that are ready and willing to face that and plan ahead. And I think that that's one of our really big concerns that we have here on the coast. Another is sustainability, making sure that we have businesses and an industry. We have industries here in Morro Bay that can continue to thrive. I believe that they said previously they were talking about economic development, and I think that is that it. Oh, sorry, I thought that I thought my minute was up. But anyway, economic development is really important for me as a person who's in marketing.
Who's an intern.
I'll go on.
Great.
I think someone else is talking, but
we got some background info or noise. Mr. Carmichael, are you?
I was asked to unmute. I'm sorry.
Yes, please. Mute.
I was asked.
Okay, Jen, did you finish? I want to make sure you got.
I think I got my thoughts out, but basically I glanced through the general plan, and I was a part of a committee that helped to get ideas from our community on what needed to be implemented in that general plan. And I think that I can help implement that and make sure that it is put into place.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you so much. Okay. Bill, please.
Well, I guess I would start with, I think the Planning Commission can be an effective bridge between the city and the community and the development community as well. So I hope to be a part of that bridge. I think learning about the issues is key, taking the time to sort of understand the strength of the issues and how they fit Morro Bay. What makes sense here, and then what skills can I bring as an architect and a previous planning commissioner to where can I help the city? I think I'm really interested in doing that. I think, all of us here, it's exciting to be a part of this effort, and wherever I can help, I want to do that.
Great. Thank you so much. With that, I will go ahead and move to Councilmember Heller. Your question, sir. And this time, by the way, I'll start with Jesse, with you, please.
Okay, first off, thank you all for applying. It's a really interesting advisory committee or commission to be on, and I think you all recognize that. And I want to thank you just for applying it. Applying alone is a great step, and I really appreciate your effort. My question is, a lot of what planning has to do is addresses growth. So there are kind of two ways to look at growth. One is to kind of focus on growing on an infill basis. And the other way is expanding the city limits and growing in that way. So can you tell me what your thoughts are in terms of those two basic approaches and which you prefer and why?
Well, I think it would be great to infill all of the lots first, the buildable lots that we have within the city limits. You know, on my street alone, there's three unbuilt out lots, and it never really made sense to me. And I guess I don't know the particular circumstances on why those are unbuilt, but you know, maybe trying to start there. I think it makes more sense to you know, we already have the infrastructure there. We have the sewer laterals, the water facilities, and you know, we're able to serve them with both police and fire. So those are the main services the city provides is, you know, sewer, water, fire, police, you know, amongst other things. But those are the biggies. So I mean, making sure we can serve effectively the community we have before we expand to the, you know, to the fringes or the sphere of influence, the areas we've identified as possibly growing into. And, you know, it's all about water, obviously. And I think, you know, if we can, you know, develop our WRF and, you know, get a sustainable water plan, or I'm sorry, a sustainable water supply, then we can, you know, talk about annexing some of these cities or some of these areas from the county, maybe Little Moro Creek, or maybe Panorama, or maybe open up to 41 a little bit. I mean, I know we've had big dreams in the past, and I wouldn't be anti-growth for sure. I would just want to make sure we're doing it both logically and with great thought. So,
Thanks, Jesse. Appreciate that. Jen, if we can go to you next, please.
I'd like to piggyback a little bit on what Jesse said on the wharf project. I think that is going to open up a lot of opportunity to annex some more land because we will have the ability to have the water supply. But in the meantime, I think that we really need to work on our affordable housing and development inside with our city limits, and really look inward before we look outward. But there is an opportunity, I know, to expand the land, or to purchase and expand the land in the Chevron property. I think there's some opportunities there. I think that we will see, as we develop our infrastructure more solidly, that we will be able to do this expansion. I can see Morro Bay expanding. Do we want to get huge? Do we want to become really, really big? That's something that I think that our community would really have to come into play and help us out with that, because I don't know that everybody has that vision for our city. I know it was mentioned before, you know, a little fishing village and things like that. But at the same time, I know we need to have an ability to keep our city sustainable. And so I think that there has to be a balance. So I think it's building within and then moving outward.
Great, thank you, Jen. Bill?
Well, I'll pick up where Jan left off. I think balance is key. And I think growth, of course, is important. Nothing is more important than appropriate growth. To figure out what that is not always easy. The opportunities are many here in Morro Bay, and they're exciting. So to be part of that decision process, to really reach out to the community, to study and understand as a group what we could recommend and encourage. And I think finally to support those that are here, that as you grow, you don't want to lose what you have that's so good. And of course, we need to support very much those that have already committed to the city and are here. So those would be the things I would want to pay attention to.
Thank you, Bill. And then Sean, please.
So I really think we need to go in the direction of like Miami Beach and bring in some high-rise buildings, major hotels. Let's throw out some wharfs so that we can get some major cruise ships in here. And no, just kidding. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. I only did that because everybody that just went before me took my answer. Balanced growth is really the key to maintaining exactly why we all came here, why we fell in love with it, and why people continue to. If we grow too quickly, if we lose our charm, if we stop paying attention to the aesthetic appeal of our and the livability of our community, then it'll cease to be the thing that we all love. So I think that mindfulness with regard to environmental factors, we have to recognize that we can only grow so fast and so far out. I really like what Jesse was saying about developing the areas that we have within. Let's develop our known resources before we expand out into new areas, and that way we won't outstrip our water resources. But at the same time, we have to have a mind for the future. We have to recognize that we have to have a sustainable infrastructure for business, and that that the ebb and flow of tourism is not really enough to sustain a community and a healthy community. One of the things that I see quite often in my work as a real estate agent is
about 10 seconds, John. Thanks.
Is that it?
10 more seconds. Go ahead. Wrap it up.
Okay. Is the wide variety of people that we have coming here and joining the wide variety of people that we already have here. And I think that a mindful approach can help us to serve the greatest number of them. Thank you.
Yeah, I was laughing in the background about your cruise ship idea, but I couldn't turn my mic on. I just thank you. Let's go ahead and move to Councilmember Addis, and we'll start with Jen Ford, please. Councilmember Addis. Dawn, are you there?
Can't hear you, Don.
We're going to need some subtitles.
How about now?
There you go.
Now we got it. Okay. Well, thank you so much for applying. And I just wish we could appoint each and every one of you. So I hope whatever happens out of this meeting today, that you'll stay engaged and continue your interest and investment in Morro Bay. But I guess what I'm wondering most is, how do you balance your own ideas about what Morro Bay should be or could be with what the greater community wants? And how do you bring that to your position on the Planning Commission?
Thank you. I guess I'll start with what I do in my daily life. First and foremost, I own a business that deals with different organizations, and basically I'm constantly evolving to help market each of those organizations, and not all of them have the same, they're not all the same. And so I'm having to constantly evolve. What I do in my spare time is that I'm a co-founder of Women's March San Luis Obispo, and that's what we're all about. We're looking at the greater good and what's good for most, not just the few. And so, I mean, our entire organization is created with that outlook. And so, on a daily basis, I'm constantly looking outward instead of inward. Of course, we all have our selfish moments, and there are things that I want to see happen in the city. I wouldn't be on this board necessarily if there weren't things that I wanted to see happen in the city. But at the same time, I feel that I have that ability to look out and see what is best for the community as a whole, and I'm a good listener. I listen to what people have to say. Listening is a really big skill to have, because a lot of people aren't good listeners. They're thinking about what they want to say while everybody else is talking, right? And so I think it's important to be receptive and to really take in what it is that people need in our city, and take that all into consideration when in decision making.
Great. Thank you, Jen. Let's go ahead and go to Bill, please.
I guess I would respond by saying I think key is process. I think the ability to put in a consistent and responsible process and to be seen that way as a body. It is about our opinions, but not exclusively. and our opinions have to come in a way, again, to support Jen, that we have to listen to inform our opinions to make sense for the specifics. I think hard work is kind of key to a lot of this. And I think, what's the word? Really valuing who Morro Bay is. And I think that's important. And to learn and to do that as a body, I think could be a very effective way to go about it.
Great, thank you, Bill. Let's go ahead, Sean.
I actually have a great deal of experience in this in the 20 years I spent in higher education, and Jen actually used the watchword. It's listening. Being able to bring as many people into the fold, make sure that they not only are heard, but actually feel like they're being heard, and that their opinions are valued, and that those opinions are reflected in the policy decisions. And to make sure that any decisions that are made are done so in a transparent way and a consistent way, so that people aren't constantly guessing about how things should be. And in that way, I think that as public servants, we don't lose sight of the fact that we are serving the public. We are and our public is this city, and to remember that that we're all in it for the betterment of not just our own lives, but our neighbors, our children, and for future generations. We can't sacrifice today. There are sacrifices we might have to make for today in order for the future generations to enjoy what it is we've been able to enjoy. I think it's really, really important that we understand that we need to leave this place better than we found it. So that those that come after have at least a chance to enjoy it as we did.
Great, thank you, Sean. Jesse, please.
Yeah, so I've been in planning and building in Kern County and then in San Luis Obispo County for 16 years now. So having that experience and being on the building side, but I obviously they're kind of hand in hand. So you can't have one without the other. So I mean, I've had exposure to planning my entire career, and being on the commission kind of opened my eyes as to how much say or how much opinion actually goes into this. There's not a whole lot of subjectivity. There's a lot of hard and fast rules, and the subjectivity part of this. What I found interesting in my last 3 years on the commission was but the commission I've been on, the 5 individuals that have made it up at the commission at various times, 5 different individuals. We've had a couple different people in there, but we're really good at building a consensus and talking through any particular subject, whether it be the vacation rental ordinance, the recommendation we passed along to the city council, or whether it be a conditional use permit on Beachcomber. We can sit there, we could talk it out, we can figure out where our differences lie and where we can compromise. And we had a lot of consensus. And I want to say, I mean, out of probably 50 or 75 votes, maybe 3 or 4 or 4 to 1, or I don't think we even had a 3 to 2. I mean, it was mostly 4 to 1. We may have some dissent here and there, but you take your personal opinions and you kind of put them on the back burner, and you do what's best for the community. And what's best for the community is getting with 5 smart folks and try to make a decision that helps us all. So.
Great, thank you, Jesse. Appreciate that. Okay, let's go ahead and move to Councilmember Barton, please. And Bill, if we can start with you, sir, please.
Sure.
Councilmember Barton. Laurel, you're muted. There you go.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
I am curious about the time that you have available, and how you see the Planning Commission and the rest of your life coming together.
Councilmember, thank you. I guess as an architect, I understand the complexities of what's involved here. And after 8 years on the LA City Planning Commission, I know it takes dedication and work. I wouldn't be involved unless I was ready to spend that time. And I know it's hard work. I also know that it's not always easy moving all these issues along. That being said, I'm partially retired, so I have the time now that even more time than I had before, and I'm committed to Morro Bay and love to be here. The opportunities are great. So I think I'm really proud and happy to have the opportunity, possibly to serve the city. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Let's go ahead and go to Sean, please.
As a real estate agent, I have a very flexible schedule. I get to make my own schedule, and I am fully aware and embrace the opportunity to spend more time having a more positive impact on the community. And I see, because I'm on the ground with folks, every day throughout the week, I really see firsthand many of the needs that the people in our community and the people that are coming to our community are saying that they need. And so I really feel like I have a very positive and consistent connection with many of the citizens and my friends and neighbors around that with whom I interact all the time. So the ability to have a flexible schedule, also knowing how to work hard when you have to work hard to move things along, and a direct line with many of the folks in our community, I think really dovetails nicely with the Planning Commission. I think that will be one of the great contributions I can make.
Thank you, Sean. Let's go to Jesse, please.
Hi, thank you, Ms. Barton. So in the last 3 years, I've had to learn how to balance my Planning Commission responsibilities with my my professional life with the county. And it's a very rigid thing. So I can't be working on Planning Commission stuff while I'm supposed to be working for the county. Obviously, so I'm taking vacation right now, just in case anybody's wondering. What I've done, the way I've learned to balance it, I have several competing hobbies. I'm a stand-up comedian, if anybody's not heard that. And I like to work out a lot. So, I have a lot of things going on, a lot of balls in the air. And I think using technology is key. Reading your agenda in your documents on the run, on your laptop when you have some downtime. Maybe you're sipping on your coffee in the morning, or when you have a couple 30 minutes, an hour at night. Just kind of taking it in when you let it get in where it fits in. And also, using technology to your advantage. Our emails come straight to our phones these days, so that helps. That helps me keep up with the correspondence we get from the community, and just making time. It's important. It's important stuff. My Tuesdays my every other Tuesday has been occupied for the last few years, and I just it's a routine, and you just kind of fall into it, and I'm happy to do it, and I'm honored to do it. So.
Okay, thanks, Jesse. Let's go ahead with Jen, please.
Thank you. I would say that my entire life is super schedule oriented. So whether it be from working with Women's March or running my own business or making sure my 2 teenage daughters are doing what they're supposed to be doing, I think that, I wouldn't have applied for this position if I thought I couldn't fit this very important task into. So when I commit to something, I commit to it. I think you could probably, if you needed to ask anyone that I've ever worked with, that's something that I really, really feel that is important. I don't like to be wishy-washy, flaky. A commitment's a commitment. So, I think that making time, Jesse had mentioned, it's important to find time whenever you can. Yes, I could do that, and I will do that. But I also would schedule time to fit in my research and to look through the agendas. And I know that there's sometimes on some of the agenda items where you need to actually go to the place wherever the, say it's for the trees, in this last meeting that we watched, or that I watched, going and looking at the trees that were up for consideration to be removed. I think that you have to make time for those types of things. And it's not just a glance through it, and get by and just hope for the best, and hope that everybody else did their homework. So I commit, if I
10
get
seconds,
this,
Jim, just
okay, if I get this position, I commit to doing the job.
Great, thanks so much for that. Appreciate it. I'll go ahead and end. There I am. Get that video on. Whoops. There's the button. Okay. Perhaps as an applicant, you've had an opportunity, or perhaps not, to look at a recent evaluation of the planning process for Morro Bay that the Chamber of Commerce did. It was very thoughtful. Their Government Affairs Committee went out and surveyed developers and looked at potential opportunities for improvement in the planning process. My question to you is, can you name what you consider to be the 3 most important things a community planning department needs to do to effectuate positive and appropriate development for the city? And I'll go ahead and start this time with Sean, please.
John, can you repeat the question, please?
There was a rather lengthy study done by the Chamber of Commerce that looked at our planning process, the planning department, the city of Morro Bay. And they did surveys of developers to gain an understanding of what their concerns were with regard to the development process. And perhaps you have or have not been able to review that. Of course, it wasn't required reading prior to this meeting. But my question to you is, what do you consider to be, to you all, 3 important issues or processes that a planning department of the city needs to make sure happens to ensure that there's appropriate and meaningful development for the city?
Okay. So the first thing I would say would be process consistency and transparency, making sure that the processes are clear, well-known, and consistent. And secondly, making sure that those processes are understood across all city departments that have anything to do with development, that have anything to do with building. Because if we have, say, the vacation rental, licensing, department, doing things that the planning commission isn't aware of, that can cause some issues. And the last thing I would say that one of the biggest issue is balancing economic growth with livability in the city, to make sure that we don't that we gauge our economic growth so that it doesn't outstrip outstrip the reasons why we live here, that so we don't toss the city out just for the sake of just for the sake of economics, and that we don't sacrifice the city for for those types of things. We all live here because we love to live here. All right, thanks, John.
Okay, thanks so much. Jesse, let's go to you.
Yeah, that was a doozy of a question. Let me see if I can tackle it.
Sorry about that.
No, it's great. So, the 3 most important processes I think a planning department does are, the application process. So for a lot of citizens, the planning department, planning a building might be the only, interaction with the city that they have. They probably don't deal with public works on a daily basis, or harbor or whatever. So, making sure that the application process for a remodel, or for a new dwelling, or for a flagpole is straightforward and easy to understand. Number two, I would say the implementation of existing policies and procedures. So, taking the general plan as a guide and bringing it, into, narrow focus and implementing it consistently in a very logical way, I think is probably the next thing. And then number three, I would say keeping up with the new legislation. So, housing being, everybody's, buzzword this year in the planning world anyway. Keeping up with that ADU legislation and the junior ADU legislation, doing what I do as a plans examiner for the county, that's helped me, on the building side, what I've learned on the planning side. So just keeping up and knowing what the new legislation is, knowing what the intent of that legislation is, and
About
trying
10
to
seconds,
create educated and logical policies and procedures is the third one.
Thank you so much. Jen, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Mayor. Yes, long question, but I will see if I can tackle it. I would like to start with one of the items that was mentioned previously, which is the transparent process and being across all different departments of the city. Trying to get some things done in my own personal life right now. I'm finding that some people are like, oh, do this. Oh, and then other departments are like, oh, wait, hold on, you can't do that. And so I think that there definitely needs to be unison in what it takes to build here, to do pretty much anything that comes across the Planning Commission's plate. So that would be one. Another one is for me, I think this may have also been mentioned, but we can't depend on tourism, as we found out in our current pandemic situation, and so we need to have a more sustainable city. So as far as job growth, and in order for that to happen, we do need to grow. As mentioned before, I don't want to grow super fast because we need to be able to handle that growth. But I think that definitely is important that we have the infrastructure here, we have the businesses here that can be sustainable in case of us closing off the rest of society and saying you can't come here, because right now tourism is a huge amount of our income. And then I guess third,
Sorry.
10 seconds.
10
Shoot.
seconds. Yeah.
Okay, third, I would say just being easier or more, I guess, easier for people from all different backgrounds to understand the process of the application, and giving that ability, translation or, things of that sort, and having things put in other languages.
Great. Thank you, Jan. Bill, please.
When I was considering applying for the Planning Commission, I took some time and looked into where the city is on their efforts. And I have to say, I'm very impressed. The recent work on the zoning code, the general plan, the housing element is up to date. This was all good news. Also, I was impressed with the engagement and the expertise coming from the chamber. These are all really good things. So I would say the first thing that the planning department needs to do is have those foundations strong and consistent. Second thing is communication, and that's communication between departments, even within the government. And that I can't emphasize that enough, how important it is to keep that communication clear. Transparent is a great word, but also effective. I guess finally, I would say your consultants matter. And, having a strong staff, hiring the right people to advise, whether it's economic studies or planning studies, the kinds of things that the chamber was looking at. These are things that I think the Planning Commission really has to depend on. So they're very critical.
Great, thank you. And that ends our questions. What a esteemed panel of applicants we have. Fantastic answers, and always a difficult choice for us as council members. Council, again, this process is a little different this year. We have no polling mechanism or silent ballot. So what I'll ask you to do is I'm going to give you a minute to just look at your notes and ask you first your two appointments to the two vacancies for a 4-year term ending January 31st, 2025. And after that, the clerk will do the tally and announce those that have been appointed, and then we'll take the remainder individuals and determine if there's one other that has adequate numbers to perhaps fill the one vacancy for the remainder term of January 31st, 2023. So you're voting for two right now for the 4-year term ending January 31st. I'll give you a minute, and then I will start with Councilmember Addis first, please.
Are you ready, or do you want me to wait?
I was going to give them just a couple seconds to look, and if you're ready to go, Councilmember Addis, please go ahead.
Jesse Barron and Bill Roshan.
Okay,
Councilmember Davis.
Jesse Barron and Jennifer Ford.
Thank you. Councilmember Heller, please.
Jesse Barron, Bill Roshan.
Okay, great. And Councilmember Barton, please.
Jesse and Bill.
Thank you. And for myself, for the two vacancies for 4-year term would be Jesse and Bill. Okay, Madam Clerk, I'll let you do the tally, please.
yes, Jesse received 5 votes, is appointed to a 4-year term, and Bill Roshan received 4 votes and is appointed to a 4-year term ending January 31st, 2025.
Congratulations to you both. Look forward to working with you in the future. And with that, I will ask you to go ahead and I'll do the same roll call and ask for your appointment to the one vacancy for the remainder of the term ending January 31st, 2023. Starting with Councilmember Addis again, please.
Jen Ford.
Thank you. Councilmember Davis.
Jennifer Ford.
Councilmember Heller.
Sean Hanlon.
Councilmember Barton.
Jen Ford.
And Mayor Heading, Jen Ford. So with that, it's a pretty easy tally, but I'll let you announce it. Madam Clerk.
I apologize, I didn't unmute. Jen Ford is appointed to the remainder of the term ending January 31st, 2023.
And congratulations to you, Jen. Again, thank you all. Sean, thank you for applying. Please don't be discouraged and continue to seek potential other opportunities. We thank you all so much for your time. Be safe and be well, and look forward again to working with you in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You bet.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Okay, with that, we will then move to the second group, which is, get my notes here, the Harbor Advisory Board. We have a number of different appointments that we'll be looking at. The first is a marine-oriented business representative. That is a vacancy, one vacancy for a 4-year term ending January 31st, 2025. We have 2 applicants for that, Scott Mather and John Weiss. And we do have an appointment for a member at large, which would be a 4-year term ending January 31st, 2025. Again, Mr. Weiss and Christopher Vale. And then we have Morro Bay Commercial Fishing Organization representative. This is a special representative that must be a member of the organization. We have one gentleman, one esteemed gentleman who has served for a number of years and is the only applicant. And to begin with, if there's council concurrence, I'd like to forego the interview for Jeremiah O'Brien and suggest that we appoint him to the vacancy for the 4-year term ending January 21st, 2025 for the Morro Bay Fishing Organization. And if you support that. When I call your name, just say aye or nay. Councilmember Addis?
Aye. Although I'd love to get to talk to Jeremiah today,
Oh,
but we'll let him off I'd like to let him off the hook.
and if, if the council wishes, I'm open to doing the interview.
Let's let him off the hook.
Oh, that's good. Off the hook. I love that. Pun intended. Councilmember Heller.
Aye. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Barton.
Aye.
And Mayor Heading, aye. Jeremiah, congratulations. You get to go home and go back to fishing. We appreciate that. Appreciate your continued service as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and move to the marine-oriented business and ask the clerk to bring in Mr. Mather and Mr. Weiss. This is a vacancy for a 4-year term ending January 31st, 2025. And this is appointing one of these two, please. And welcome, Mr. Mather and Mr. Weiss. You have 1 minute, please, to just introduce yourself and tell us why you're interested in the Harbor Advisory Board. And let me start with Scott Mather.
Well, thank you, Honorary Mayor and Council, for considering my application to the Harbor Advisory Board. I think I have a kind of a unique insight into the Morro Bay's working waterfront for 49 years of being on the waterfront, and starting way back when, running different boats for different organizations, from being a 20-year member of the Morro Bay Yacht Club, working for Verges, Graham's Landing, Morro Bay Marina, kind of the list goes on and on of my history on the waterfront. I've seen it change a lot over the years, and we have a unique charm. And I want to preserve that charm. I want to keep that charm going. Don't lose sight of the reason people come here. Well, that's my goal, if I could get on this position. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. John Weiss, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be interviewed for this opportunity and position, having been a business owner in Morro Bay for 42 years and very active with many of the commercial fishermen and the waterfront businesses. I hope to be an advocate for them, but also be understanding of the goals that the City Council has established for the Harbor Advisory Board. Being a business owner for 42 years, I have a good idea on finances, and I see a need to boost the reserves and to help accomplish our goals. So I hope to be selected to do one of those two things.
Thank you, John. And we will be using the same format. I'll start with a single council member and then ask one of the two respondents to respond in 1 minute to the question that is asked. And then for the next question, I'll start with the other one just to kind of keep things fresh. So let's go ahead this time and start with Councilmember Barton, if we could, please. And Mr. Mather or Scott, we'll have you up first, please.
Hi, gentlemen. I know that both of you have lots of experience in the harbor, and we hear oftentimes about Morro Bay that it's a charming little fishing village, but I also hear other things going on there. Can you tell me your ideas for maybe at least two things that you might want to change or deal with differently in the harbor?
Oh, to deal with, I mean, I would like it to cost money, but I'd like to see some of the infrastructure built up there on the waterfront. Some of our docks could use some work, and maybe coming up with different ideas to get more at our piers, get more occupancy at our piers. I know we have to deal with Measure D and all, but it seems like we have a little bit of a real estate that's not being totally optimized.
Okay, great. Thank you, Scott. John, please.
I think it's, we do have a charming fishing village, but we also have a big business. And I understand how vitally important it is to support our commercial fishing fishermen and women. And so I think that that's really important to support. At the same time, we also need to recognize that the infrastructure, as was mentioned, is really important. So again, getting back to the financial part, figuring out ways to boost our reserves so we can do the things that we want to do. We all have wish lists about what we would like to do, and it takes money and time. So I'm committed to help with that endeavor.
Thank you, John. And with that, we'll go ahead and move to Councilmember Davis, sir, please.
Thank you. Both of you have talked about infrastructure, reserves, money, and time. What are your ideas for providing sufficient financial resources to sustain the harbor?
Mr. Weisberg, please.
Well, I think that looking at the budget of the harbor is where we start, see where the deficiencies are. And obviously it's going to require work with the harbor director, city manager, and the council, and figure out what where our opportunities are. I remember a few years back when I was involved with the chamber, we had a situation where we had financial challenges, and we worked through those, and we ended up with a pretty good reserve. So I think there are opportunities within the infrastructure to do that. I don't know if I answered your question, but that's kind of along the line of what I had in mind.
Thanks, John. Scott, please.
Yeah, that's a tough one. We need to think outside the box on this one. We need to somehow bring in other interests, whether it be we have some vacant property that could be utilized for different things. We're lucky. I think we still have the wind energy, Castle Wind Energy, still looking at coming in, and that would be a boom. This would help what money we've lost from PG&E and Dynergy and the such. If we could get something, make it attractive for something like similar to Monterey Bay Aquarium, some sort of educational research firm or area, you know, a business put in here to look at well, anything from, you know, environmental ecological standards to the sustainable fishing. Some sort of like something like the Monterey Bay Aquarium, put ourselves on the map. And I think that would be a big boom for the waterfront.
Thank you, Scott. Let's go ahead to Councilmember Heller, please. And we'll start with you, Scott.
Okay. One of the things the Harbor Department is involved in now is management of leases there on the Embarcadero. And I'm wondering, what is your perspective on how that's being managed, and how maybe we can make it better?
Well, it's being managed as well as it can be right now with the COVID and all. Maybe get in a little bit more of a professional team to manage that, the leases. And that's all I have to say on that right now. Okay.
Great, thank you, Scott. John, please.
Well, I think that that is a challenge, but I think we have a lot of opportunities with the asset that we have been given by the state. There are a lot of unique leases, and I do remember the time when we had the aquarium, and that obviously is no longer. But we do need to find some way to attract viable businesses that will be profitable and contribute to the financial viability of our harbor. And also, there's some other ideas that come to mind, but I think that it's an area where we can definitely improve. There's a lot of areas of improvement with the leasehold.
Thank you, John. Did we do Scott on that one? Sorry, did I start with you, Scott?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, trying to keep my notes straight here. All right, thank you for that. Councilmember Addis, please. And we'll start with John Weiss, please.
Sure. You know, the harbor is used by a lot of different people, whether it's tourists or people who live aboard, or commercial fishermen, and then we have a lot of emotion attached to the harbor for folks who have been here for a long time, as well as your own personal feelings about the harbor. So how do you balance what your personal beliefs are with the greater community needs and figure out what those greater community needs are in your position if you were to be on the HAB?
I'm not sure if I completely understand your question. I have been in public positions and on boards many times, and I think you have to have the ability, whether it's the Rotary as a district governor or as a Chamber of Commerce president, those are all opportunities where you have to have the ability to set aside anything that might be prejudiced, if you want to call it. But we all have opinions, so it's hard to divorce ourselves of those opinions. But having raised 3 children, a grandson, I have a great affection for the harbor. It is where I go to eat in many cases, although I do eat in other parts of the town. I try to shop and eat locally. But I think that I will have no trouble differentiating between my personal opinion and the greater good of the harbor.
Thank you, John. Scott, please.
Yeah, I think for me, it'd be easy to balance the separate needs. I've worked with every different facet on the waterfront, whether it is fishing, whether it is yachting, pleasure yachting, recreational boating, commercial fishing, to the leaseholders, to, I'm associated with the Maritime Museum, to helping them get off the ground. I was told once that, Scott, you're different. You always find the best in everyone. So to me, I don't think that's a problem at all. I have no prejudice one way over the other. One facet of business down there over the other facet. They're all important. They all need to be balanced. And that's what gives us the charm of the waterfront, what it is today. That's why people come here. So, so that's what I have. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Scott. So you've heard, this is my questions and my question, I should say, and you've heard about some of the financial concerns with regard to the Harbor Enterprise Fund. Recently, in a review of capital needs, there were probably unfunded needs that exceeded about $2 million a year for capital improvements on the Embarcadero. And the primary sources of revenue, as you both know, come from leaseholders. And in a very back of the napkin calculation, if you doubled leaseholder rates that they had to pay for leases, it would be nowhere near enough to cover the needs of the Harbor Capital Improvement Fund, nor would it allow those businesses to be sustainable. So my question to you is, from a sources of funds perspective, in your mind, where potentially does the city find new revenues for harbor capital improvements that are sorely needed and way behind? And we'll start with Scott, please.
As I mentioned earlier, I mean, I hope the wind energy comes to fruition here. We're in a unique position to accept them. We have the infrastructure in place for the cable coming in. We have the, not Morro Bay, but energy company has the property behind there, and we're hooked right into the grid right there. So that is something we need to cultivate. We need to be able to negotiate with them, whoever is going to end up getting the contract for that. And we have to beat out Diablo for that also. So that would, again, we need to think outside the box. You can't double everybody's lease payments. I mean, you'll have more open, closed waterfront locations there than we have now. So we have to think outside the box. We need to bring in bigger, better businesses that have a need for our unique location. What
Great,
that
thank you,
is, I don't know off the top of my head, other than the wind energy at this point. But I'll be very interested in entertaining any and all ideas on that one.
Great, thank you. John, please.
I would bring Cal Poly in with a school and put it at the power plant and collect $2 million a year. No, I'm kidding. I had to say something like that, but I do have a working relationship with Alma, who's with the wind farm opportunity. I think that you're right. There is the need to find additional sources besides our leaseholders. If doubling them doesn't solve the problem, then we have to look elsewhere. Hopefully grants would be an opportunity. I don't know if that's something that how viable that will be, but I think there have to be grants available. We have a very clean harbor, and I know that we've been successful in getting it dredged every year, and that's not a cheap proposition. So the question is, can we find another grant that might make our harbor viable, because we need fish, we need fishing, we need to have a viable waterfront.
Thank you, John. With that, thank you for your answers to those questions. Council, if you would, just take a minute, and we are appointing one of these two individuals to a 4-year term ending January 31st, 2025. This is the marine-oriented business representative. And so your choice, and we'll start with Councilmember Davis, please.
Scott Mather.
Councilmember Heller.
John Weiss.
Councilmember Addis.
Scott Mather.
Councilmember Barton.
John Weiss.
And my choice would be Scott Mather. So I'll ask the clerk to tally that, if you would, please.
Yes, the vote was 3-2. Scott Mather was appointed to the position of marine-oriented business representative for a 4-year term.
Welcome, Scott. Thank you for that. John, we're going to keep you on the hot seat here and move to the member-at-large representative. This is a vacancy for a 4-year term ending January 31st, 2025. I also welcome Christopher Vale. Christopher, welcome. We'll bring you in here and promote you to the panel. And same format, we'll go through questions. I'll alternate who starts off from the council perspective as well as from the individual applicant perspective. Again, thank you for applying, and we'll go ahead and move to questions. And let me start this time, if I could, with Councilmember Heller, please.
We can't use the same question.
You could do whatever you want, sir.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely.
I'm interested in the financial question with respect to infrastructure repair, which for the harbor really amounts to millions of dollars probably, and what we really need. I'm not so sure the grants are going to get it. I think something larger needs to be done. I'm wondering what your ideas are in terms of what large steps can we take to generate funding to repair the infrastructure.
Great. And let's go ahead and start with Christopher. And by the way, Christopher, you haven't been given the opportunity to give your 1-minute introduction. So let me go ahead and start with your introduction. And then if you've forgotten the question by that time, I'll ask Councilmember Heller to repeat it. Sorry about that. So welcome, Christopher. And do we have Christopher on the line here?
Chris is in the webinar. We'll need him to unmute himself so that we can hear him. Chris, are you able to hear us?
Yes, I have been.
Great. Go ahead and do your 1-minute introduction, Chris, if you could. And then I'll briefly ask Councilmember Heller to repeat his question, and we'll go ahead and start with you for that. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for your consideration in advance. I've been in the marine industry for over 50 years. I was at the Morro Bay Marina in the late 60s into the early 70s. I've operated on the East Coast, San Francisco and LA in marine businesses, I'm a retired Marine surveyor, and my specialty was accidents, repairs, building docks, pilings. If I haven't run them over, we've repaired them. And in doing so, there is just about nothing on the list that I don't know about. In terms of running a harbor, a marina, I laid some of the original moorings in Morro Bay. And so here I am retired, having moved back 5 years ago with time on my hands. And I spend 3 and 4 days a week down on the waterfront because I love the place. And when I saw the opportunity for this position, I thought, you know, it might be time to give back a little bit. And so I have the time, I've got product knowledge. In advance, I'll tell you, I am not aware of the financial situations with Morro Bay and the harbor. I am aware of what looks to me like it needs to be fixed or changed, or etc. Anyway, now please read the question.
Yeah, Councilmember Heller, I'm sorry, could you repeat your question?
Yes, so the question does have to do with creative ways of thinking to generate funding to take care of the infrastructure repairs, which we're all aware of. Anyway, that is the question. If you can do your best, I'd appreciate it.
I think the way I would apply myself to this is in Q&A. I know vendors on the waterfront. I know restaurateurs on the waterfront. I know fishermen on the waterfront. I know the Maritime Museum folks. I've just accosted Jeremiah the other day and had a brief discussion with him as to what goes on. And I would need to put my ear to the ground and learn about the financial condition of Morro Bay and the harbor itself, because that would be, as I said out front, that would be my weak point. But as a career as a marine surveyor and investigator, it's all about asking questions. It's all about learning what you don't know, so you've got both ends of the job done. That's the best I can do at this point.
Great, thank you for that. John Weiss, please.
Well, I think one of the ways to tackle any problem is to prioritize whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. And it does require listening and finding out what is the most important. In this case, I would probably try to tackle the top 3 priorities, not try to do everything at once. I recognize that the $2 million represents everything that needs to be done, but we have to live in a realistic world and prioritize what we have. We also have to look at where we can gain some resources. Now, grants may not be the answer for the entire part, but it might be helpful for some of it. We have to attract businesses that generate revenue for the city. And so I think that the wind farm is obviously one opportunity, but it is a little ways out. I often have thought about Cal Poly coming and using the existing power plant as a learning opportunity and a tool to learn. I know that Cal Poly has a learning facility out at the Port San Luis. Why wouldn't they want to come to Morro Bay? We have a very unique infrastructure that they could benefit from, and we could benefit from their expertise. So again, I would look at the top 3 priorities, and I would look to grants, the wind farm, and Cal Poly.
Great, thank you, John. Councilmember Addis, please, and we'll start with Scott, please.
Sure. Where do you see the harbor in, say, 20 years? And what would be 3 things you would do on the HAB to help get us there?
I'm sorry, I meant we'll start with Christopher. My bad. Thank you. Christopher, please.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sure. Where do you see the harbor in 20 years? And what are 3 things you would do on the HAB to help move us toward that vision?
I don't see the harbor as changing so much as maintaining itself in a little bit better condition than it is now. I also am a believer in creating as much possible access to the actual shoreline as possible. We seem to live off tourism. The more outside stuff we've done as a result of COVID has worked. The extensions of the promenade on the bay side of buildings has worked. I do not see us doing Southern California things like putting in a big marina. I do not see us doing anything of that sort at all. Morro Bay is a charming little harbor and it ought to stay that way.
Great. Thanks, Chris. John.
I have 3 ideas that come to mind. One is, and this is one that I have talked to Jeremiah and others, I would like to display our fishing in the next 20 years, where I know that when having sat at the dockside where they're unloading the fish, it'd be great to have a display with glass where they could, in a safe way, show the fish being cut up and then maybe even going to market. So I'd love to have an opportunity where it goes from fishermen directly to the consumer, and have it displayed in a way where it's really entertaining and educational, maybe even with some signage. I would like to see us, and I don't know if this relates directly to the question that's been asked, but I would like to see in the next 20 years the road opened up that takes us so we have a second access besides what we have going to the Embarcadero, which is essentially harbor and Pacific, and have it go out towards the school. I know that there's been talk about doing that for a variety of reasons. And then thirdly, I would love to see us have a viable boat yard, you know, in support of our commercial fishermen and also whoever has a boat.
Great. Thank you, John. Let's go ahead to Councilmember Davis, sir, please. And John, if you could start us off with the answers to the question. Go ahead, Councilmember Davis.
Yes, we do have a marina as part of our harbor down at the state park. It needs dredging. It doesn't provide much revenue to the city. What are your thoughts about the future of that marina?
Well, I think that one of the things that I was involved with Eco Rotary was, the planting of eelgrass. You mentioned dredging. Again, that's grant driven, I think. And as a golfer, I love the marina, and as one who has serviced boats with the electronics equipment in that general area, because there are several boats that are docked there. I think that's an opportunity. So I think that it shouldn't be ignored, and it's a great point, and I appreciate you raising that, Councilman Davis. But I think that the answer to the question is probably looking for some kind of funding, because you're right, there isn't a lot of revenue that's being generated there, but it is important from an environmental standpoint, and I think the environment is very important.
Thank you, John. Chris, please.
That marina should be a cash cow, and I don't quite understand why it is not. When I was in San Francisco and the Commodore Bay Yacht Club, we had a 45-foot or 45 slip marina at our club, and that's where the cash cow came from. We referred to it as that. So why the marina is upside down, I don't know. And I would want to check in and find out what the prices are, what the market would bear, because Morro Bay's got precious few slips. And if we're going to increase recreational boating, for instance, which is basically what's down there, we're going to have to get to a price point that makes that marina profitable. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. That'll take us to Councilmember Barton, please, and we'll start with Chris on this round of questions. So thank you, Councilmember Barton.
Okay. Gosh, almost everything that I wanted to ask has been asked, so I'll try and come up with something different. Thinking about some of the things that we do have that are recreational operations in the harbor, so the you know, the boats that you can rent for a dinner cruise or you know, the other things like that. Are there some things that we're missing out on that we haven't thought of?
I am surprised that the number of per boat ride rentals are as strong as they are. It's actually unusual, and I would say that I was in business in Marina del Rey years ago in the 80s and sold out in the 80s. That's a 6,000 slip marina with a couple of tour boats. So Morro Bay is, like, in a sense, disproportionate in terms of boats for hire. So I think that's doing really well. I think the reason it does really well is the otters are doing really well. It's entertainment for everybody. And again, I even know or observed that the Captain Stew's boat has been cleaned up. It's being inspected by the Coast Guard, and it's going back into service. So, you know, the demand is there, and apparently, you know, we've got boats to handle it. Thank you.
Thank you. John, please.
Councilman Barton, could you repeat your question, please?
We've talked some about things that are needed in the harbor, generating more business, that kind of thing. And so I was wondering if we are missing out. You know, there are a number of different things that you can take, like a dinner cruise or you know, different kinds of operators in the harbor. And I just wondered, are there some things that we're missing?
Well, obviously the challenge right now is with COVID, but when it ends, I think that's going to open up again. I think I've had the opportunity to be on every boat that's gone out, whether it's Captain Stew's or the Papagallo or the Chablis or the little yellow boat that goes out and has a bottom you can see in the water and so on. I think it's a fun thing to do. And I think it's an opportunity because it doesn't take up any land space, but it is something that generates revenue. It generates sales tax, for one. And, you know, when those individuals are on those dinner cruises, they're creating some revenue. And so I think it's a great fun thing that I've thoroughly enjoyed as a resident of Morro Bay. And good thing.
Great, thanks to you both. I will forego my question. I think we've had, you know, a number of questions, and I would have asked something very similar along the financial lines. So with that, council, we are looking for the appointment of one individual to a 4-year term ending January 31st, 2025. So if you'll just take 30 seconds or so, collect your thoughts, and we'll ask the clerk to tally. Let me start with Council Member Barton, please.
I think Christopher Vail.
Okay. Council Member Heller.
John Weiss.
Council Member Davis.
Christopher Heller, or Christopher Vail.
Councilmember Heller, you've just been appointed to the head.
Okay.
Thank you. And Councilmember Addis.
John Weiss.
Okay, and for myself, Christopher Vail. So I'll ask the clerk to please give us the tally.
Mr. Vail, you have received 3 votes and been appointed to the Harbor Advisory Board as a member at large.
Excellent.
So thank you both. I very much appreciate your appearing today. And remember, if you haven't been selected, there are other opportunities certainly coming up in the future, and we thank you for that. With that, we'll go ahead and move to our next slate. And that is Recreation and Parks Commission. We have 2 vacancies for a 4-year term ending January 31st, 2025. Please note, council members, that Piper Fedro has withdrawn, in case you didn't get that email. So number 4, you can cross out. And Mr. Sorich, Skip Sorich, sent an email that he couldn't make it, but wanted to be considered even though he wouldn't be able to respond to the questions. So with your concurrence, we can keep him on the slate. Or if you would prefer not to consider him because he's unable to answer questions, we can withdraw his name as well. So if it's okay to keep him on the slate, would you just please indicate by saying aye? Councilmember Barton,
Aye.
Addis,
Sure. Aye.
okay, Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Heller,
Aye.
and I would be an aye as well. Thank you for that. So let me go ahead and welcome Carol Ellis, Drew Sedaris, Melissa Davis, and in absentia, Skip Zorich. So with that, again, the format, we'll ask each of you to please give us just a 1-minute introduction. We do have your resume and what you've submitted. So just a brief outline as to why you're interested in Parks and Rec and why you think you're qualified. And then we will move to questions. And let me start with Melissa Davis, please. Welcome, Melissa.
Oh, thank you, Mayor Heading. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Loud and clear.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Hi, I'm Melissa Davis. I'm interested in being on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board because I'm interested in serving our community in a different kind of capacity than I have been the last 8 or 9 years. I'm a local Morro Bay resident. My family has lived here for a long time. And I thought that, you know, this is just a great pivotal time to be involved in our community and be involved in the decisions being made about our ways that we recreate here and how we can extend opportunities to visitors and people that just move here alike, and how, you know, how that affects our community is our recreating and being able to access the parks and in our city. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Drew?
Hi, my name is Drew Sedaris. I've been a Parks Commissioner for I think 2 terms. You know, moving forward, obviously we have to deal with this pandemic. There's 2 sides to Parks and Recs. Obviously, there's the physical parks, which we've been able to keep open, but the programs have suffered because of it. So moving forward, we're going to have to figure out how we can safely reopen all our programs. I know we had kids camp going for a while, but I believe we shut it down. You know, the goals we want to achieve is to be all inclusive to everyone, to have programs from, you know, from the kids camp to seniors. My goal is to have every kid in Morro Bay replace 10 Facebook friends with 1 kid he can go out and surf with and ride bicycles with and go fishing with, because real friends are far better for you, I believe, in my heart. So that's my introduction. I have a film and motion picture background, but I started racing motorcycles when I was 14. And when my father agreed that I could do it, his only stipulation was I had to earn the money to do it. So I learned a lot from sports, you know, competition, maintenance on the bikes, and you know, the responsibility of not killing yourself when you're doing something that there's some risk involved. So, and I just enjoy serving my community. I'm retired, you know, unfortunately due to becoming disabled from injuries from some of my racing activities. But anyway, I'm here. I'm sorry my written stuff was so, I looked like I should be a doctor according to my handwriting, but my arthritis was acting up.
10 seconds, Drew. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And Carol Ellis, welcome, Carol. Carol with us?
I do not see a microphone icon next to her name. I see a camera icon, but I do not see a microphone icon.
Dana, do we need to promote, or?
She has been promoted. I'm not sure how to, we may need her to phone in order to participate if she doesn't have a microphone.
That is correct.
Carol, if you can hear me, there's no microphone icon that shows up on your picture. Would you be able to phone in and do you have that number for her, Dana?
It's on the agenda, and I'm happy to read that to you, Carol. Maybe, are you able to hear us? If you could nod.
Carol, can you hear us at all?
I'm not sure she's able to hear the audio.
Carol, I don't know sign language, I'm sorry. Carol, we can't hear you.
Oh, okay. So it seems that you don't have a microphone. Would you be able to join by telephone?
Can you phone in? Phone? Use your phone to call? Phone number?
Phone number is 1 4, I'm not sure.
4 1
0
4 0
8.
Ooh. 8.
Would you like, maybe we can take a brief, we can try giving her a call.
Yes, that'd be great.
We can take just a brief moment to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'll start with questions with the others and we'll come back.
Thank you. Sounds great.
All right. So let's go ahead this time and start with, if we could, Councilmember Addis, and we'll ask Drew if you would begin with the first question. Go ahead, Councilmember Addis.
Sorry, I just put a snack in my mouth.
I caught you at the right time.
Melissa understands, but let me just regroup here for a second.
Would you like me to? I'll come back to you. That's okay.
Go ahead.
No, I'll go.
There you
If,
go.
if
Okay.
Carol's here.
We don't want you to choke.
I know, I'm sorry. But when you think about rec and park, what do you see as our greatest need as well as our greatest area of improvement? Excuse me, our greatest asset and our greatest area of improvement.
Our parks are our greatest asset. As far as improvement, I think everything's doing pretty good. I mean, we probably use some more pickleball courts. People keep asking for that. But I think the most serious thing facing us is how to reopen with this COVID pandemic and bringing back programs in a safe and safe way that applies that's safe. That's the main thing. But our assets are our physical parks and the people that we have left. A lot of them had to leave, unfortunately, because of the situation. But I guess, the other thing too are the events, the marathons and the festivals and the other, outdoor events that attract people. Parks and Recs does attract tourists, especially when, we could have baseball tournaments when the baseball parks are open, and pickleball actually attracts a lot of people. So that's my answer.
Great, thank you. Melissa, please. You have to unmute yourself, Melissa. You're muted. There.
I'm unmuting. Sorry.
Thank you.
Getting used to the headphones. Like what was just mentioned, I do believe that our parks are something that is probably our strongest asset here in Morro Bay, as far as, where people are visiting the most. Especially, residents, we're all bringing our kids to the parks, especially right now. The tennis courts are great, in the park right by where I live, and Del Mar Park's always great as well, with the pickleball park courts included. I think that some areas of improvement that it would be really great for me to see as a parent of a 9-year-old and also someone that grew up here in Morro Bay is to see more programs geared towards the outdoors for our kids, especially for people and families that have moved here who maybe aren't from areas that are so accessible. The outdoor areas that are accessible to us are a huge part of our lifestyle here in Morro Bay. And I would really, really like to see more kids whose maybe their parents didn't grow up here or grow up in a small town area where they can have more access and ease of access to really like these local spots that people are going to, places that I grew up going to myself, and giving those kids a sense of pride and community and a pride in the areas in which they live, and also a sense of ownership in that, I think would be great. not only just kids, but people that just moved here and people that are coming to our community, especially now in COVID, that may not know what we're all about and what our ecology and what our history is all about. And I think it's really important to be able to have programs and tailor programs to all these people that are just coming here, whether or not they're visitors or they're residents moving here, or they're longtime locals that may not know
10 seconds, Melissa. Thank you.
different things about our community that they might want to learn. And I think that it'd be really great to be invested in more educational aspects of our community. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I'll ask Dana, do we have Carol yet?
Yeah.
Well, Carol, welcome.
Hi, thank you. And I so apologize for my technology issues. I listened along right up until I was a participant, and then I had no audio on my computer. So hello, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. So we wanted to give you just 1 minute to introduce yourself, and then I'll ask Council, I don't know if you heard Council Member Addis's question. If not, she can repeat. Okay, so we'll go ahead and give you a minute to introduce yourself, and then each of the answers to the questions are 1 minute. So go ahead and introduce yourself and welcome.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. My name is Carol Ellis, and I am new not only to Morro Bay, but to California and the West Coast. I'm originally from New York City, and then in 2004, I moved to Southwest Florida, and I then came here in July of 2018 to help my daughter move, and took Highway 1 down from San Francisco after I flew in, and it was completely enamored. Love this. I want to make this my home forever. I feel like I found where I finally belong. And I want to do anything I can to help proliferate what you already have here with these beautiful parks and amazing programs, and really help that to grow. I'm a yoga instructor. I really have felt the effects of COVID personally with teaching yoga so far, and also offering yoga retreats and utilizing your beautiful parks to be able to teach people. I teach regularly at Del Mar Park, and I just really want to be a part of preserving and watching this beautiful recreation and parks community grow.
Great, thank you, Carol. And I'm going to ask Councilmember Addis if she will repeat her question for you. And then you have 1 minute to answer that. Thank you.
Sure. Hi, Carol. What do you see as, in terms of the Park and Rec Department, what do you see to be as the biggest assets as well as the biggest challenges?
Yes, well, obviously the biggest assets are what we have here, our beautiful natural environment that our parks already showcase. Preserving that, of course, is paramount, but also I think COVID has taught us, if we hadn't already known, how important it is, these parks and recreation, not only to offering people, obviously fresh air and the outdoors, but a sense of community with our programs that we offer. As an instructor, I'd love to see a platform for instructors to come to, which could be also a source of revenue for the city if we're, a minimal, but also to cover that cost. I mean, we're offering classes, on the grass, and if it's wet, we have to cancel. So perhaps some sort of staging area or a safe dry area, and then instructors can reserve and pay a minimal fee. I'd love to see that going, and then that of course can be open to all sorts of other programs and recreation. I'd like to be a part of the development if we are moving forward with the elementary school property and that building, the housing project there. Obviously there's going to be a need for parks and
10
recreation.
seconds, Carol.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I'm just excited to be a part of all of this, and I would really just like to move forward in continuing the beautiful parks and programs we offer.
Thank you so much. So we'll move to Councilmember Barton, please. Your question, and if we could start with Melissa first on this. Thank you.
Sorry, I had to let the dog out.
No worries. Important.
Yes, important things. Okay, so let's see here. I I would like to know, I'm hearing all the good things and the things that we need to improve here. I'm hearing mostly about families. We have a rather large senior population here, and I'm wondering about things to make stronger to keep our seniors healthy.
Are you referring to times specifically now or just options for seniors in the future?
Well, probably both.
Okay.
Yeah, because as more people move here, and you know, I think what's the selection of programs will change as the population changes. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've lived here in Los Osos and Morro Bay most of my life. My mom also grew up here in Morro Bay, went to Morro Elementary, the school that you're talking about potentially being torn down for affordable housing. I would say that there are a lot of really great senior programs here in Morro Bay through the community center, whether it's yoga. I know there's some Tai Chi and different movement programs. So as far as physical activity, I think that our seniors actually have a lot more opportunities than Morro Bay is offering just the kids right now in form of like long-term programs versus just, you know, seasonal sports. I think that what I would like to see and what I mentioned before is I would really like to get people a little more outside and a little more active in our local ecology here and the things that we have to offer as far as, you know, our bay. Bird watching. We have a lot of really great accessible trails that are easy to walk on. Really, really easy for people to access, whether or not they need a wheelchair or a walker or any other kind of assistance moving outside. We live in an area that's just so beautiful and so accessible for so many people, including our beaches, including the multiple wheelchairs that our harbor department has to give people the opportunities to access our beaches if they're wheelchair bound.
10 seconds, Melissa. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that we have a lot of really great senior programs, and Laura would encourage you to look into them. I think that we have a lot to offer people outdoors too, and I'd be interested in looking into those things as well. Thank you.
Thanks.
Move to Drew, please.
Yes. What, was there a question?
Yes, Laurel, did you want to quickly repeat your question?
Oh, the question I had was we've been hearing a lot about things that are available for younger members of our community, and I was curious about things for older members of the community as well. I know that there are a number of things at the community center, but I'm curious about some other things that you might see as a shortage in our community for seniors or for other groups.
Shortage? Well, actually, the programs at the community center fluctuate as the need fluctuates, you know, according to what kind of programs, you know, the citizens ask for. I think we forgot to mention, you know, that we have the swimming pool, and swimming's just wonderful for everybody. And pickleball. Pickleball is actually a low impact sport that is mostly played by, you know, older folks. I don't think there's that many children that play it. Yeah, that's it. You know, we, like I said, as the need changes. Whoops, didn't that mess something up? Uh-oh. Well, I can't see you, but you can hear me. Yeah, I think we have plenty of programs, and they're doing, but they're closed because of COVID. So when COVID goes away, we'll be back at it. Thank you.
Thanks, Drew. Carol, please.
Hi, I think I agree with Melissa that we have lovely programs, Andrew, but I don't agree that they are enough. I'm a senior, so I've seen, and I teach senior fitness. I think the aquatics program is top of the line and super, super popular, but I don't think it's enough. I think it's great that we offer pickleball, but not all seniors even have that mobility. So I'd like to see some walking programs with some fitness incorporated in it. Another great, I think, great idea that I had for an access from where the Maritime Museum is over to the power plant, instead of walking on the Embarcadero, my vision would be to have a nice path there, and then we could take seniors, or they can do it on their own, so that it would be interactive with placards, where we can do perhaps some simple stretches, like very gentle type of exercises, because the senior population is grouped into, you know, I think everybody's mindset is like just older people.
Thank you.
That's I'd like to have more wheelchair access on the walking path, like North Point. There's those beautiful steps, but nobody can get down to the beach. I just had a double hip replacement, and that's where I did a lot of my walking, and I can only go a few feet because there is no senior access. So I'd like to see a lot more of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Appreciate that. So with that, we'll go ahead and go to Councilmember Heller. Sir, your questions, please. And if we could start with Drew on the answers.
Okay. Rec and Park has so many great programs. Unfortunately, they all require financial resources to put on. The community has a wide variety of needs. Do you think it's more important overall to the community to service seniors or to service families?
Service everyone. We take everybody equal. You know, a lot of the programs are underwritten to a certain degree. We have to meet certain, return goals on the cost to participate. But right now, obviously the staff is gutted. So, moving forward, we can do whatever is required of us as long as we have the staffing for it, the volunteers for it. So maybe after the pandemic, we'll get more volunteers because people will be more motivated to help after they see all this hardship we've been through.
Thank you, Drew. Go ahead to Carol, please.
I'm sorry, just repeat the question. Oh, yes, the population. I think off the cuff, you'd have to look at the census. Who do we have more of? Families and demographics to say, who do we serve more of or more programs? So I don't think it's a subjective choice. I think that would be an objective choice, and I'd need to see the numbers on that. But I would like to serve, of course, everyone. So where the money goes is obviously where there is more demand, like anything else. And then I just like to mention, I keep hearing, when the pandemic is over, and I don't think that that's the way we should be looking at this. We're going to be living in a new world for a while. So I'd like to see recreation programs that are brought more outdoors so that we are better prepared for the long range. And then if it ends sooner, then that's a bonus. But I think we need to be prepared and not shut down as we have been. What has been running for us all this time is just the aquatics, right? Our indoor activities have suspended. So I think we need to look at the future very different than the past.
Thank you, Carol. Melissa, please.
Thank you, John. So as far as, what's more important, families or seniors? Like I said, I grew up here in Morro Bay. It's always been a retirement community. There's always been seniors here. And there's always been families here. There's always been people that have been here raising kids. I would say the majority of working people here in Morro Bay have kids and are raising kids here. So, both are equally important. I think that, the city doesn't have to take on the brunt of that. And I don't think that it's obligated to. There's a lot of really great organizations here in Morro Bay, that offer scholarship funds for kids to do sports in our community, that offer a lot of money for seniors to participate in a lot of different programs that don't even have anything to do with the city, as far as that's concerned. And I think that looking at Parks and Rec and what they do and what they don't do as far as provide services for families and seniors on a monetary basis may be a little flawed, to be honest with you. I think that the city should be looking at how to encourage our citizens to participate more in our outdoor environment and utilize our parks and utilize our recreation opportunities here in the city and pay for them. Make sure that, you're paying for a boating permit and you're paying for permits to use our parks for festivals and different multi-use fundraisers and whatnot. for all
you.
kinds of different things. And I think there's a lot of options here in the city, and you don't have to make the choice between what should we support more, seniors or families. I think that that's a moot point. Thank you.
Great. Let's go ahead and move to Councilmember Davis, please. And we'll start this time with Carol.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask the candidates, what do you think is the purpose of this committee, and how would you help to achieve its purpose?
Yes, thank you. I think that the purpose is clear, of course, to continue to provide the services that we are and maintain the beautiful parks and recreation facilities that we have. So maintenance and continuance of the program's growth, I think, are paramount. But again, having our eyes wide open and learning something from this pandemic is looking forward with fresh eyes on how we can continue to offer these wonderful services to our community with that in mind: social distancing, safety, being outside. And I just want to be a part of that. And I think being so new to this area, I come without any special interests, just fresh eyes and just a sincere heart that wants to give to this community and be a part of it.
Thank you, Carol. Let's go ahead with Melissa.
I'm unmuting. So, you know, Parks and Rec on its own website says that it's creating community through people, parks, and programs. And I think that I'm a big believer in the basics. I think that it's easy to get lost in the details. And I think it's really important when you're focusing on a bigger picture and a bigger programs to focus on those bigger ideas of things. And, you know, how we get to help people in our community is by understanding the need. And I think that it's really important for our city at this point to understand the need of our community and understand the things that we can do and the things that we don't need to do, the things that other organizations and other community organizations will take on, and the things the city doesn't really need to take on, and go back to the basics of how are we going to provide a great experience for the citizens of Morro Bay, present citizens and future citizens, including kids, including people that come here to retire, including people that during the pandemic have moved here with their families to experience the life that we all get to live every single day here. I think that putting priority on simplification is really important. I think that
10 seconds.
Listening to people in our community and their needs is the most important thing that anybody in our city can do. And just being able to be on an advisory board would be helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. Drew.
Okay, well, obviously it's to engage with the public, to get to, you know, to try to fill their needs, encourage them to come with us. Like when they wanted to build the bicycle motocross track, they came to us, a group of people said, we want to build this track. So we helped them find a place to put it, helped them, you know, figure out the 501k thing, and now we have it. You know, also, you know, there's a logistics part of it too. We hire these part-time, usually young kids to help run a lot of these programs, you know, the baseball games, the soccer stuff, you know, to maintain that small equipment. We also engage with the community. I mean, we engage with, you know, like Morro Bay Beautiful and all those people that help do all the things they do to keep to add their bit to the community. I mean, they really do a lot of work, and the planters make the place really pretty. We haven't really, the maintenance of the parks has been taken away from us by the last administration, so we really don't have much to say on that. When we did, we mostly concentrated on water conservation and erosion controls and stuff and pest control, but we don't do that anymore. So basically we concentrate on the programs, but it takes people on the ground, it takes boots on the ground to run those programs. And, you know, we hire the young kids, and we get cooperation from the high school groups over there too. And they actually do volunteer work, you know, restriping parking lots and stuff. And there's so much, because also we participate like the 4th of July events and the, the kite festivals and, the marathons and things like that. And that takes staff to do that we don't have now because of the pandemic. So hopefully when things, get better, we'll have to look at the budget and see which of these we can bring back. Because we want stuff, but we physically need to have the finances to accomplish these things. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, and that moves it to me. If you look at Morro Bay demographics, the percent participation by young people is significantly higher than, I won't say old people, but I'll say senior citizens, whatever that means to you all. I consider myself one of them. One of the most important things for health above and beyond good nutrition and a good spiritual life and socialization is activity. Give me just 2 things that you think Morro Bay Recreation Department or the commission could do to increase participation by our senior citizens in recreation. And let me start with, if I could, Melissa.
Thank you, John. So I've said multiple times throughout this interview process that I think that it would be really great to get programs together, walking trails, bird watching, going to, I personally hike every single day, just here locally in Morro Bay, about 3-4 times a week. I only walk the distance that I can walk from my house to somewhere. There are many, many, many accessible outdoor activities for seniors, regardless of their mobility issues. I personally have been a massage therapist for 14 years. I've worked with seniors. I've worked with seniors in this community. I know the limitations of people that they have as far as mobility goes. And Morro Bay really has access to so many beautiful, beautiful, beautiful places within, a quarter-mile walk on a flat surface. And if we can garner together some programs and some people that are willing to not only participate in programs, but also, guide programs, I think that it would be a really great outlet for Morro Bay. And if you're interested in, a $5 donation or a $5 pay-in for a walk along the Marina Boardwalk, people pay that. There's people that move here from all over that have never experienced the outdoors the way that we have, or that I have my whole life. And they don't know how to. They really don't. They don't know how to go and what to look for and what to see and what to notice and what kind of things to enjoy or not enjoy. And it's our responsibility as people that love Morro Bay to share that love for our town with people that want to enjoy it as well. So
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Carol, please.
Hi, thank you. I think the question is what 2 things we can do to really increase the senior participation. And number 1, make it free, make it accessible no matter what your income is, and a donation on a voluntary basis. I think, a lot of seniors are on a strict budget and they really have to watch any disposable income that they may even have or may not have. And 2, have a dedicated space that I'd like to see outdoors for the sit and get fit classes, Tai Chi, and a lot of the classes that we were already offering at the senior facilities, but that if we have an outdoor space, they're already drawn there, and then perhaps they'll even take a walk around the park, or they get more familiar and meet someone that they can walk with. Yes, guided programs are lovely, and I've been a health and fitness and wellness instructor my entire life, so I'm quite familiar with them and do have a handle on that pulse as far as using resources for free, perhaps college students that need extra credit to guide some of these programs and do interpretive programs. The museum offers that lovely, or used to, the bird watching program. There are a lot of things available, but if there is a cost involved, I do believe that deters a lot of seniors. Thank you.
Carol. Appreciate it. Drew, please.
Well, obviously to promote and encourage people to participate, because like you said, the socialization, I think, is one of the more important things that we need to provide for the seniors. Feeling that they're a part of something, feeling that they're welcome somewhere. Going forward with logistic problems, getting people to other locations. That's why the community center works so well, because everybody gets there on their own. And from there, perhaps we could to do some walking tours and stuff. But you got to look at the logistics of it. A lot of these people can't drive themselves. How do you pick them up, 4 at a time on the bus and get them somewhere? It would take hours. So I'm not sure. This is what lies ahead of us, is to how do we get through this minefield of COVID, and what can we achieve under the circumstances that we find ourselves in? And also, I just want to note, the Morro Bay seniors do provide a bit more than Parks and Rec. So they've kind of got their own gigs going too. And they used to do a lot more outings, obviously, when it was physically, they were able to because of the pandemic. So that's it.
Great. Thank you, Drew. Appreciate that. Thank you to all of the applicants. We very much appreciate the time you've taken. Great answers, great questions. And I will ask council now. We have 2 vacancies for a 4-year term ending January 31st, 2025. We do have 4 applicants, Carol Ellis, Drew Sedaris, Melissa Davis, and Skip Sorich. So if you'll take 30 seconds or so, review your notes and give us your top 2, please. I feel like I should do the countdown. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Okay. Great. Back live. Council Member Davis, please.
Melissa and Drew.
Okay. Council Member Heller.
Drew and Melissa.
Council Member Addis.
I'm so torn, but Melissa and Drew.
And Council Member Barton.
It's almost too many good choices. But I'm kind of torn too. Drew and Melissa.
And for myself, Drew and Melissa. And again, boy, some great applicants, great people. We really appreciate it. Please don't be discouraged if you weren't chosen. We encourage you to apply for other positions as they come up. And we thank you so much for taking the time today to be part of this. Appreciate it. And with that, council, I may have gotten us out of order, but my notes were this way. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to move us to PWAB, Public Works Advisory Board. And as I gather my notes here, we have 4 vacancies for a 4-year term ending January 31st, 1 vacancy for a 1-year term ending January 31st. I should have said the first one, 2025, and the 1-year term is ending 2024. We have only 2 applicants. I can move it one of 2 ways, however you would like to proceed, council. We can do a general introduction and do full questioning, or we can do a modified partial questioning. What's your pleasure? Anybody want to offer an opinion? I'm happy to do whatever you would like to do.
I would be happy to directly appoint both Ian and John without going through the interviews.
Okay, I'm looking for maybe head nods or.
I agree.
Fine with that.
Everybody agree with that? Councilmember Davis, you agree with that?
I do agree.
Okay, so with that, I agree with that. Thank you. Ian and John, we saved you tremendous torture and a lot of time for this afternoon now that you have to go out and exercise if you listen to our last panel. So with that, Madam Clerk, it looks like it's unanimous. Would that be grouped for the 4 vacancies for the 4-year term? Is that okay for both of these, the 4-year term ending January 31st, 2025? So I'm seeing heads nod. Council members.
Are you asking council or the applicant?
Council, is that?
Yes, I'm good with that.
Okay, good. Sorry about that background noise.
And I would just like to thank both the applicants for applying for PWAB and for taking the time to come to the interview. I know sometimes when you think you're going to be interviewed and then you're not interviewed, it could be a little bit of a letdown, but I'm hoping today that's not the case. And just very much appreciate that you applied, and I'm excited to have you serve.
Thank you, Councilmember Addis. Well stated, and I absolutely agree with that. So we have PWAB now. And by the way, other individuals, if you're still listening, that have applied for other boards, we do have openings on our Public Works Advisory Board and would love to consider you for that if you have interest. Okay, let me move us along. This is the tourism or the TBID board. As you know, there will be a transition to away from the city. So this is one hotelier member at large for a 4-year term ending January 31st, 2025. Applicant Alan, as you know, via the email we received, could not attend. He has served, in my opinion, quite well and wishes to continue. And I would obviously, we can't interview, but if we're agreeable, I would recommend that we appoint Steve Allen as the hotelier member at large for a 4-year term ending January 31st, 2025. Looking for concurrence.
I support that.
Support?
I concur.
Okay, Councilmember Heller, I see your head moving yes. Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Okay, and Councilmember Barton, is that okay?
Yes.
Great. Well, with that, Steve, if you review this, as most people do, and watch it on C-SPAN Channel 20, you're very much appreciated, and we thank you for continuing on in your service to the TBID. And that moves us, Council, to the SLOCOG, Citizens Transportation Advisory Committee, or CTAC. We do have one current vacancy for a 4-year term ending January 31st, 2025. We have 2 applicants, Jan Goldman and William Johnson, who I will welcome to the Zoom meeting, and I'll allow our clerk to promote them so that we can see and hear them. I see the names coming up. Great, welcome Jan and welcome Bill. As you may have heard, we would like to have just a 1-minute, if you could, introduction of why you're interested in the CTAC position and a little bit about your background. We do have the information you submitted, and then we will have council questions. And so welcome both to Jan Goldman and Bill Johnson. Let's go ahead and start, if we could, with Bill. A 1-minute introduction, please, sir. Bill, you're muted. You have to turn your mute button off.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, sir. Welcome.
Okay, there. Sorry about that.
No worries. Welcome.
Anyhow, again, my name is Bill Johnson. I have been a resident of Morro Bay since 2007. I retired approximately 4.5 years ago after almost 40 years of employment, 10 in the private sector and 30 in the public sector with 2 large cities as well as a special district. And I have a substantial amount of experience in financial matters, particularly involving the public sector. And I also have a master's degree in public administration that focus primarily on governmental and budgeting and finances.
Great, welcome, Bill. Thank you. And Jan, welcome.
Hi, everybody. I've lived here in Morro Bay since 2007 after I retired from my previous life as a special ed teacher. And since I've been in Morro Bay, some people think I've been too involved, but I've been very involved in things in the city. I've been, besides working at the visitor center when we used to still have that, was on the GPAC, and I worked on the rewriting that. I've been on the GAC committee. I've been on PWAB. I've been on, I've just been involved in a lot of stuff. Right now, I'm the president of the Morro Bay Friends of the Library still, and I've just volunteered around town. I work with Morro Bay and Bloom, and my term finished with PWAB, but I'm thinking I can't quit cold turkey, so that's why I applied for.
I got that. You're in withdrawal and you just can't. Quit.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Thank you, Jan. Appreciate that. So with that, I will go ahead and start with council questions. And if we could start with Bill first, and then Councilmember Barton, would you lead us off on questions, or your question, please?
Well, let's see. I am interested in your prior work with the Air Pollution Control District.
Yes. Yes, my prior experience for approximately 25 years, I had been everything from a air quality inspector through the safety officer to the risk manager to the assistant deputy executive officer for administrative and human resources matters, have been involved heavily. I oversaw our fleet operations, and we had a very large 280 vehicle fleet operations. And one of the things that we did, and what my interest for this commission is involved with the making sure that the increased ride sharing opportunities, as well as also the clean fuel opportunities that could come up with providing greater transportation for the citizens of SLO County.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Jan?
I have not worked with the Clean Air Commission, but however, I do know about it from reading, from talking to people. My interest in being on this committee is because I just like to see how things work and how things run. And I've been, from my experience on PWAB, I learned about so many little small things, a little bit about a lot of things. And so this seems like it would be more focused in just one area, and transportation and clean air, clean transportation, bikeways, safer roadways, all that seems to be there. I'm very interested in finding out more about how all that works and how some of those decisions are made.
Great, thank you, Jan. Let's go ahead and move to Councilmember Heller, your question. And if I could, Jan, we'll start with you.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a county and regional board.
That's right.
So Jan, how do you envision transportation in the county 10 years from now? What's going to be different? What will be the same?
Well, I know with all the talking about, it's all sort of goes together with affordable housing. They're talking about building houses close to transportation sources, so that assuming that people aren't going to have as many cars in the future. I think the cars in the future are going to be, it seems like we all know, are going to be more electric. I think so, but the number, I'm not sure. I hear these conversations and I know the plan is, or the hope is, that people will use more public transportation and that they will use more bicycles and they will use cleaner cars. For that to happen in Morro Bay, you have to have those routes, those public transportation routes coming to Morro Bay. You can't say take a bus if there's no bus, or take a train if there's no train. So but we can't do that on ourselves. It's going to have to all be countywide or statewide, and I think the movement is toward more public transportation, fewer cars, more bicycles, and that's it.
Thank you, Jan. Bill, please.
Yes, responding to that question, yes, I have, particularly the agency that I had previously worked for in the air quality field was a regional 4-county agency. So we had a very large breadth of responsibility for clean air over primarily the metropolitan Los Angeles area. I'm also, through that, we had both what was the somewhat famously or infamously known as Regulation 15 that strongly encouraged rideshare programs, and I was a participant in rideshare programs through my employment for 20 plus years since this was brought into place. So many times these are expensive programs to implement, but they do have a substantial improvement from an air quality and also a public health point of view. And even currently, I am on the with the San Luis Obispo County air quality district. I am on the hearing board, and we are hearing particularly one particular matter that involving both air quality and public health matters in the South County area. But if any other rideshare, I'm fully supportive of all rideshare and alternative fuel resources to improve air quality in our county.
Thank you, Bill. I'll go ahead to Councilmember Davis, sir. And Bill, let's start with you this time, if we could.
Yes, please tell me what you hope to accomplish on CTAC.
What I hope to at least get my voice and opinions in regards to, again, both the issues of rideshare, improved mass transportation, and for even private transportation, just the introduction of cleaner fuels, be it either everything from hydrogen power, natural gas, electric vehicle operations. I think in the future, electric vehicles are probably going to be the most substantial impact on air quality, but then you also need to have the infrastructure. Some of the things that are even going on currently in the city of San Luis Obispo, putting in their electric vehicle charging stations. I know we have a few stations here in Morro Bay, but we really need to have more to support this introduction of electric vehicles.
Thank you, Bill. Jan, please.
Can I use his answer?
You can say ditto if you'd like to.
As mine?
Yeah, and yes, I'll cede my answer to Jan.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Like I said before, I think, in the future is for ride sharing, public transportation, electric cars, but you have to have the infrastructure. It's just a big problem to solve. How do you get, right now you get money for infrastructure from gas taxes. If you don't have gas tax, where do you get the money for the infrastructure? Lots of questions to ask. I'd like to find out how they're worked out.
Good, thank you, Jan. We'll go ahead to Councilmember Addis, please. And if we could start with you, Jan.
How do you see enacting your role as a voice for Morro Bay or an advocate for Morro Bay as representative to the CTAC?
Advocate to Morro Bay. I think I would really, the one thing that comes to mind would be the roundabout on Highway 41 and Main Street. I think that that's really needed. That's the way to go. I would also, there's been talk since I've been here about making a pedestrian or a bike trail from Morro Bay to Cayucas, which I think is getting easier now that there's been a change in ownership on the land between here and there. I would push for, well, those two things. The other thing would be how to get, how to get more people into ride sharing and into public transportation, and how to make those are talked about and maybe established in Paso Robles or maybe in SLO because they're bigger cities, but somebody's got to say, what about us in Morro Bay? And how can we take advantage of that? So,
thank you, Jan. Bill, please.
I think I'll use the same line. I'll take part of Jan's answer. But no, I think probably one of the greatest concerns is just getting the needs of Morro Bay brought up to the forefront across the county and the regional level. Obviously, slow with their kind of dominance and size, have taken a number of steps forward, but and they also probably have subsumed a lot of the funds associated with these programs. And there are many programs, many of them available through even the Air Pollution Control District, the California Air Resources Board, and even the County Transportation Commission that can provide funds, but we just have to be a vocal proponent of what it is that we want and need to have here in the town. And one of the, I think, kind of critical things to key in on what Jan had just also said was the fact that it's one thing to have the ability to address transportation around Morro Bay, but one of the critical features comes into the ability to go into the neighboring cities, which are in some cases could be outside of the normal ability to walk, other forms of alternative transportation, even the some of the ride sharing opportunities that are out there. So one of the things, just being a vocal proponent for the needs of Morro Bay in comparison with the other jurisdictions in our county.
Great, thank you so much. And my question, and we'll start with you, Bill, please. Perhaps the two biggest, I have to unmute myself here. Sorry about that. If we could start with you, Bill, my question is this: perhaps the two biggest barriers to entry with regard to utilizing public transportation are economic or affordability issues, and what I'll consider to be the love of the automobile, individualism. How, from a marketing perspective, could we potentially overcome those barriers to increase ridership?
I entirely agree with the statement about the love of the automobile. And many times we just have to understand the means of powering that automobile can be different. And it also, by introduction of clean fuels, particularly electric vehicles, but also having smaller, down in Los Angeles, they have a program called, if you're familiar with it at all, called DASH, Downtown Area Short Hop. And this is a program that was introduced to allow small, not quite an Uber type of a situation, but where people can get short-term rides for daily trips. And that can be everything from to the grocery store, to the pharmacy, the type of things that people in Morro Bay are going to be primarily interested in, going out to eat. But again, combining both the clean fuels option of the vehicles, as well as the ability to have mass transit, even if it's on a small scale, I think is the most critical feature to be introduced there.
Good, thank you, Bill. And Jen, please.
You know, around Morro Bay, I've ridden the bus quite a bit just to find out what it's like. And it actually gets me to where I need to go. The problem is that you have to really plan your day around it. And it takes up a lot of time. Sometimes I could walk to the place I'm going to faster than I could ride the bus. But that's just in Morro Bay. Now, if you have no car and you need to go to, say, Pismo, you've got to go, the bus, you have to catch the bus up at the park, you have to go to Slow, you have to change bus. You know, your whole day is in that. So that's the problem, I think, with bus and mass transportation, not only just the love of the car, but it's just, well, the love of the car, but it's just so much simpler to just get in your car and go to those places. There's the image, I think, of people riding buses, people's I've talked to people about riding the bus. They go, "Oh, you ride the bus?" Like maybe that's a degrading thing to do. Somehow that image has to be changed. Somehow it has to be more efficient to get you where you want to go when you want to go. But I know that in a town this size, in a county this size, with everything spread out, and those are very difficult decisions to make. Like Bill was saying about the Dash in LA, you'd ride the bus to the bus terminal or to a major stop, and then they'd have these little like Uber Dashes that would take you to short distances around, which is good because that's also the problem. When you get to where you're going, how do you get from the bus station to where you want to go? And so those are all probably since the beginning of transportation problems that people have had to work with. Maybe Morro Bay needs to have its own Uber company. I don't know. I don't know. Those are just some ideas that are coming off my head, John. I'm sorry.
Hey, no, good points. Thank you so much. Well, thank you both for that, Council. We'll just ask you to take perhaps 30 seconds and put your notes together. We are appointing one of these two for a current vacancy for a 4-year term ending January 31st, 2020.
May I say something, John, before you
Yes.
vote?
Mhm.
After listening to Bill, he has so many more connections than I have and so much more knowledge about things that I think if I were voting, I would be voting for him.
So we have one vote for Bill.
And I'm going to interject, Jan, you and I have actually met before, and I want to congratulate you on being a wonderful spokesperson for Morro Bay.
Well, thank you, Bill.
So I'm going to say, if you are selected, I think you will do a fine job.
Well, I was just going to rescind my application because I thought you sound younger, more enthusiastic, more qualified, and that was what I was going to say.
Well, Jan, no pressure if that's what you'd like to do. Certainly, we can proceed that way. Are you suggesting?
No, I am very interested in the situation, but I also am thinking that, like I just said, he sounds younger, he sounds more qualified, he's got many more connections than me, and so maybe he sounds like he should be the person that's chosen. So I think I would like to rescind.
Okay, so with that,
it's easy on the vote, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now I'll probably regret this because now I'm quitting everything cold turkey. I'll have to find something else to be involved in. But
Jan, thank you. You're just that's very straightforward and honest, and we appreciate that. And so, Council, with that, we have a withdrawal and a single candidate. Is everybody comfortable with appointing Mr. Johnson? Seeing Councilmember Addis?
I am. I just really want to thank Jan for your service. I find it amazing that you were on the General Plan Committee, that you've served on PWAB, that you've done so many things and continue to do so many things. I wish you would stay on PWAB if you're not going to do this. So that's my kind of ploy for right now is please don't leave us. But I understand that you're pulling your application, and I welcome Bill if council chooses to move forward.
You're here.
And I'm a yes vote on that.
Okay, Councilmember Davis?
I too would like to ask Jan to continue to serve on PWAB, and I reluctantly accept her withdrawal and cast my vote for Bill Johnson.
Thank you. Councilmember Barton?
It's my pleasure to serve with Jan on Saturdays, grooming the gorgeous bright orange geraniums down by the Embarcadero. And as part of that, we end up talking about, all kinds of different city stuff. And so I have learned a lot from Jan about PWAB, about the Visitors Bureau, about all kinds of things. And so I'm like everybody else, I'm hoping she will not stop doing things, because it's just great to have such well-informed volunteers.
Thank you. And Councilmember Hill?
Yeah, Jan, I'm so happy that you're still looking for things to do here. I mean, all the time you spent at the Visitor Center, the different committees and commissions, we could use 20 folks like you, and appreciate your involvement over the years. And whether it's PWAB or whatever you want to do, thank you very much. Keep it up.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'll just say ditto, Jan. I appreciate that. I would agree with the vote. Mr. Johnson, I would be an aye for that. And Jan, I know we're going to see you pop up somewhere else. Anywhere you do pop up, we appreciate your heart, your service, your commitment to the community, and your tenacity. Thank you so much.
No doubt you'll see me again like a bad penny, right? Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Welcome, and thank you so much. We appreciate it. And
Thank
we're
you.
going to move to our last appointment group. It's the Citizens Finance Advisory Committee. This is for one current vacancy for the remainder of the term ending January 31st, 2023. We do have two applicants, Stephen Peck and Bill Johnson. And with that, I will start with asking for a 1-minute introduction. Start with Mr. Peck. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Glad to be here today. It's a privilege to be able to serve with Morro Bay. And as I considered where I might be of best service to the community, I thought planning would be a natural for me, given my background. And I really love the harbor, but as I think you found out throughout the course of the afternoon, the real challenge is in in money and financing. Everything comes to that point. And I think there's going to be important work to be done by the community in deciding how we pay for the things we want. And so my decision was to serve on the Community Finance Advisory Board for that purpose.
Thank you, Steve. Bill?
Yes, again, good afternoon. And as I mentioned before, I have over 30 years of professional experience at both the staff, management, and executive level with 3 different public agencies. And during the course of that, particularly my tenure with the city of Pomona down in the Los Angeles County area, we had even a more dire situation than what Morro Bay is currently facing now. We, along with the city of San Bernardino, and this was in 2008-2009 timeframe, were on the verge of declaring bankruptcy. So one of the things that I was responsible for in working with the city manager was to come up with alternatives. We floated everything from instituting pay cuts for our employees, furloughs, many of these things, and get into some of the technical aspects of financial management. Here on a city, you have both your elastic and inelastic resources and revenues. And the city so far, Morro Bay, has done a tremendous job getting its employees to share the pain of what we're going through right now. And I have to compliment them, but one of the things we need to do is to work on the elastic, trying to find out how we can raise revenue to support our city and to maintain it in a high standard.
Great, thank you both. With that, we'll go ahead and move to council questions. And I'll start off, if I could, with Councilmember Davis, please. Councilmember Davis. And Mr. Peck, if you'll go first, I appreciate it.
Yes. What do you hope to accomplish serving on this committee?
I think my plan is to serve the kind of the traditional functions that this committee was set out for, which was to monitor expenditures of the special sales taxes, but also to assist the city council in coming up with a long-term plan for financing capital operations and just the things that we need. It is, in my opinion, it's a certainty that as we come out of this pandemic, nothing will ever be the same. And just assuming we're going to go back to the same normal would be a mistake. So I'd like to work with the fine minds that you have on that committee already, along with the council and your staff, just to say, how do we make sure we have good reserves? How do we provide quality public services in a different, more efficient way? How we pay for capital, like the the services, like the ones we provide in the harbor and safety and the other ones. So basically working hard to come up with a structure, a plan that can be implemented from here on out that will keep us in good stead.
Thank you, Steve. Bill?
Yes, I think we have a golden opportunity here, also with a likely new finance director coming on board here with the city. Jennifer did a phenomenal job explaining where we were with the budget. But one of the things that I've had to do in my professional career is try to figure out ways to what we've been doing in the past. Is that the most efficient way to do it? And can we go in alternative directions? I know there was discussions previously about outsourcing of the police and fire department. I am very much opposed to either one of those. And one of the things that I would hope to do is to establish the revenue sources so that we could maintain our police and fire, as well as fully funding our city staff, so that we can have a high quality standard of living here in Morro Bay.
Thank you, Bill. Let's go ahead to Councilmember Addis, if you would, please. And if Bill, if you could lead us off on this one. Thank you.
Okay.
Just given your new commitments, but well, both of you have commitments to the community and to the city, is CFAC the place that you continue to want to give your time to?
Oh, the transportation.
No, this one. Sorry. I'm sorry. Is this committee, given all the commitments that both of you have to our community, is this the committee that you continue to want to put your energy towards?
In many ways, I feel that's even though my experience has been in primarily in air quality, but with both my education and experience in finance and budgeting, I think I could bring a substantial contribution to this committee. And I have already done this in my employment. I spent one tour duty with the city of Thousand Oaks down south. And one of the things I was brought on to do and was able to do in a very short term of time there was to cut expenditures, particularly in one area, the risk management field, which is also what my background is. And a lot of it came just to asking what was being currently done, how it was being done, and also the use of competitive bidding for these type of services. Many times they have not been, as cities have not utilized competitive bidding for many of these administrative type of services. And we were able to obtain an outstanding amount of cost reduction by doing so.
Thank you, Bill. Steve, please.
Thank you for the question, Don. Actually, my time commitments were an important consideration when I picked this committee. This committee meets probably once a month, if that. I probably don't have the schedule to meet 2 or 3 times a month like the Planning Commission might or other committees might. Much of this work is background work that I can do outside of a meeting. So I know I can make the commitment to this, and knew I couldn't make a commitment to something like the Planning Commission, but I can within the context of everything else that I'm doing.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate that. And we'll start with you, Steve, again on this one, and go to Councilmember Barton, please.
Well, I've got to say, as I'm listening to the questions and the answers here, we've got a really tough decision to make. And if I've known Steve for many, many years and known him in various configurations as a planner, as a very hard questioning person on the other side. And I just know that there's a lot of value here in both of the candidates. And so I'm wondering, and I don't know if it's not a question necessarily for the candidates, but whether CFAC could possibly use two qualified people to expand their committee.
So that would take a council action to expand that, and at present, the vacancy that exists is the vacancy, and that would have to be agendized, obviously discussed at council, and so if we're going to have to just stick with this, if you have a question, perhaps, or you certainly can pass.
It's an unusual opportunity. We have two very strong candidates here who I think could both be very helpful. And if anyone else sees it that way, perhaps we could put that on the agenda.
Do you have a question, council member? Or that you'd like them to ask? If not, you can pass. That's fine.
I'll pass.
Okay, thank you. With that, let me move to Council Member Heller.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much for applying. I agree that we will not be returning to normal, and I see this as a great opportunity. Part of what we will be able to do, I think, depends on the amount of financial aid that we may or may not get from the federal government in the future. If, for example, we don't get the kind of relief that we are hoping for, do you think we can survive as a full service independent city?
Is that my question, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. Steve, sorry.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Yes, I think with the passage of Measure E, you can be a full service city. The staff and council have done a good job of trimming the budget, getting to a point where we have adequate reserves to survive the pandemic. It all depends on what how full those services are. You heard a lot of desires for things like parks and recreation programs that are heavily subsidized. You would certainly have the budget to do police and fire and street sweeping and those sorts of things. I think the important thing is that we're not stingy, but we're judicious with the money that the public has entrusted with us to make sure that we have enough money for parks and recreation and harbor. I'm one that believes that a lot of the harbor money that is enterprised right now is probably a little bit of that ends up, some of that should be, some contribution should be made by the general fund. And that's part of the problem we have with that fund. But I think that it's simply a matter of, are we have basic services, or do we have a really robust, full service parks and recreation, harbor, cultural resources, arts, those sorts of things. I think that's where the real challenges lie.
Thank you. Bill, please.
Yes, and Mr. Heller, in response to your question, I do believe the city could continue as a full service city, particularly as Mr. Peck just mentioned, and I agree wholeheartedly with his response, that the implementation of Measure E20 was critical to maintaining us as a full service city. But the additional challenges are going to be to make sure that we're not only able to maintain our police and fire within the town, but also to have the infrastructure improvements that we need in the town. Obviously, we have the water reclamation facility is ongoing, but also the street and maintenance that needs to be done, as well as stormwater. Again, we have a number of different challenges that is going to require us to come up with these sources of revenue, whether or not it's through grants by the state or federal government, and or through just finding the money in our general fund, and or setting up capital improvement budgeting to affect getting these projects done. But it's all goes back to a matter of the quality of life here in Morro Bay, that we need to maintain our roads and our parks and our infrastructure.
Good, thank you both. And see, I think I've got everybody. I'll go ahead with my questions. And at this time, Bill, if I could start with you, please. One of the hidden unknowns with regard to significant liability, financial liability for our city, is our unfunded CalPERS liability at present. Given the fact that CalPERS board refuses to lower their discount rate and did not meet their assumptions this year, there are increasing pressures on cities because of the fact that there are increased liabilities that will have to be passed on to cities in the future. And that amount will be significant, but yet is unknown by most cities at present. My question to both of you, realizing that this may be one of the most significant expense issues that the city has to deal with, do you have any ideas and or thoughts about how we could address this issue and decrease the liability with regard to CalPERS for the city?
I actually have a considerable direct experience in dealing with this issue of both CalPERS as well as CalPERS is governed under the PERL, P-E-R-L laws, and then many of the counties are also covered under the SURL laws, the county employment retirement laws. But with them, from my role as a labor management negotiator for all of the three organizations that I worked with, we had to institute having employees pick up their portion of the it's called the employee contribution, but most agencies have over the years paid that on behalf of the employees. It is a painful thing to put into place. It many times requires negotiations to arrive at that. We do also have the effect of the PEPRA laws. And as we do transition through with the turnover of the workforce, and any of those hired after January 1st of 2013, then they become a PEPRA employee as opposed to a classic employee. And that will slowly affect the outstanding liability for that. But you also mentioned about the CalPERS refusing to lower their discount rate. That would be a substantial benefit for most of the cities, but it's heavily opposed, unfortunately, by many of the employee organizations out there. So one of the things that may have to just be is understanding what the reality is. The 7.25%, 7.5% discount rate is probably just not sustainable into the future.
Thank you, Bill. Steve, please.
I think I agree with that. This is a situation where services have been rendered and we just don't know what the full bill is going to be yet. It's not as if you're going forward and cutting something out. I think the best thing you can do, as painful as it is to provide that amount or something close to that amount as a probable liability in the future, whether PERS sends you a bill for it or not. You need to assume that it may happen, and we need to budget accordingly. And I think that's what I was referring to, is we need to look farther down the road. We need to put some flesh to the bones of your 10-year plan, so that while there may be a minimum general fund reserve, maybe there's an augmented reserve for something like that. At the end of the day, these are always revenue problems. They're not expense problems. If we diversify our revenues, if we encourage the kinds of things in the community that fit our general plan and make money for the city, whether it's things that generate a lot of property taxes, sales taxes, or hotel taxes, we need to make sure we have those revenue generating items on the top of our minds when we're also thinking about balancing your budget.
Whoops. Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Bill. We appreciate that. Again, two great candidates for one of our advisory committees. Very, very tough choice. And I want to again thank you both for your application and taking the time today to be with us and answer our questions. With that, we'll give you 30 seconds, folks, and ask you to give us your choice for the one current vacancy for the remainder of the term ending January 31st, 2023 for CFAC. So, dun, 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 dun. And with that, if we could start with Councilmember Heller.
Yes, I want to thank you both again for applying. You're both eminently qualified, and I hope that regardless of how we vote today, you remain involved in helping the city as best you can. And I know that you will. This is really kind of a toss-up for me, but I'm voting for Stephen Peck.
Okay, thank you. And Councilmember Davis.
Stephen Peck.
Okay, Councilmember Addis.
I'm voting for Stephen Peck, but I'm just elated that Bill Johnson is willing to serve on more than one thing, being on CTAC and then being willing to be on CFAC. And so I'm just really hopeful that Bill would take a look at PWAB, where we need highly qualified people. The same thing if Skip is out there and watching, I hope Skip will take a look at PWAB, and I hope our other applicants today that didn't make it onto committees will please take a look at PWAB, because we've just had amazing applicants today and we could really use you engaged with the city of Morro Bay. But this particular one, I'm voting for Steve.
Thanks, and well stated, Councilmember Addis. Councilmember Barton, please.
Stephen Peck. I am just, like Don was just saying, I am just amazed at the quality of the candidates today, and what a lucky community we are to have this quality of candidates and people with time to give. It's really great.
And I will also be voting for Steve Peck. Again, I echo everything that all of you have said. Great candidates. Bill, thank you for your service in CTAC, and thank you for applying for CFAC. There will be other opportunities, I know. I just wanted to generally say thank you to all the applicants. What a great group of individuals and a pool that we had to choose from. I consider it a privilege to be able to be involved with the selection of such qualified people. And so thanks again to all of you. Thank you, Council, for some probing questions and for your time today. If I am looking at my notes correctly, I believe that ends the immediate agenda items for this meeting. The next meeting of the Morro Bay City Council will occur right here. Let's see, in 32 minutes at 5:30 p.m. this evening. Tune in and we will see you there. Be safe and be well. And thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.